All right, sports fans, how's everyone out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It's that time of the week, folks. My weekly picks in the world of the National Football League. We're down to just 8 after the first round of the playoffs, and boy, were they very exciting. Got all 6 right last week, trying to make it 4 this week. But nonetheless, we've got 4 tremendous games on tap this weekend. 3 games that are rematches from the regular season, as 4 teams are going to be 60 football minutes away from getting to the Super Bowl after this weekend. So you're going to start off this tomorrow afternoon, and you got the Houston Texans traveling to take on the Baltimore Ravens. And of course, the Ravens are the top seed in the AFC, while the Texans have some momentum going for themselves. Now, like I said, 3 of these games this weekend are going to be rematches from the regular season. The Texans and Ravens met in week number 1 in Baltimore, and it was Baltimore that beat the Texans 25-9. This was a very close game after the first half, but the Ravens were able to distance themselves slightly from the Texans in the second half. You look at this Texans team right now, they're playing a lot different. CJ Stroud at quarterback is showing a lot of maturity, a lot of confidence, and this team as a whole is showing a lot of confidence because the Texans are playing with house money. But I think that the Texans have a good game plan as far as getting the ball out of Stroud's hands very quickly. And I think that is something that the Ravens defense is going to try to have to neutralize in this contest. I think this game right here comes down to the defenses. You're going to have a very cold game tomorrow in Baltimore, game time temperatures at 28 degrees. And I think it comes down to the defenses. You look at it like this with the Texans. The way that they play defense, they know how to get after you. And for D'Amico Ryans, he's able to create pressure with his front four, just like he did when he was the defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, if the Texans are going to be able to create pressure just with their front four, then it changes a lot of things for the Baltimore Ravens with what they can do on offense, because then the Texans can drop their back seven. And if we've seen it in Lamar Jackson's NFL career, the one thing that he has struggled with in the postseason is when opposing defenses drop that back seven back and dare him to beat him with his arm. That's going to be the key. Can they find a way to contain Lamar Jackson and keep him in that pocket? It's one of those where I think it's imperative for the Texans to try to score a touchdown early, not just to try to take the crowd out of the game in Baltimore, but also shift that pressure to the Ravens. Because in this one, like I said, the Texans are playing with house money. They're a big time underdog. A lot's on the table for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson more than likely is going to be the MVP of the league this year. Okay. But then on top of that, people are going to just talk about Lamar Jackson's postseason record so far, just being 1-3. So I think if the Texans are able to do that, obviously the pressure would then go to Baltimore. Easier said than done. The Ravens are a very tough team. They've been beating a lot of good teams this season, and they want to keep that trend going as they try to get one step closer to the Super Bowl. But there's something about this Texans team. Like I said, CJ Stroud is playing with house money, and I'm going to go upset here. I'm going to take Houston on the road by the score of 27-23. Now, tomorrow night in the Bay, you're going to have the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Green Bay Packers. And like Baltimore, San Francisco, they're the top team in their respective conference. They also come into this weekend as 9.5 point favorites against the Pack. Now, for the Pack, they got a lot of momentum going for themselves. We saw how they finished the regular season on a positive note, to get into the playoffs. Then we saw how they dismantled the Dallas Cowboys last week at AT&T Stadium. The Packers offense was clicking. It's going to be a little bit tougher tomorrow against the 49ers because of the way that the 49ers play D, especially the way that they can create pressure up front with the likes of Nick Bosa and Chase Young. I think it's going to be important for the Packers to try to get off to a fast start on offense because one thing that we've seen about the 49ers, they start off slow at times. Excuse me. And if that's something, if you're the Packers that you can exploit, obviously that works to your, benefit to put the 49ers in a deficit, but it's easier said than done. You look at this 49ers team, they're rested, and I think they're motivated right now. They've been so close in recent years, and they've been unable to get over that hump. And I think it's important for the 49ers to get the scoring going early because with what we've seen with their offense, it's infectious. When they get their big time playmakers going, and I'm talking about Christian McCaffrey and Debo Samuel and George Kittle, and the Niners start scoring touchdowns, plural, this defense feeds off of that. And if you give the 49ers a lead, they're going to have the opportunity to pin their ears back and come after Jordan Love. Try to do something that he didn't have to worry about last week against the Dallas Cowboys, which is make him uncomfortable. The key, I think, once again, for this Packers offense is to get that running game going with Aaron Jones against this Niners defense. This is going to be a good game. Okay, it's one of those where I think it's going to be a back and forth, nip and tuck affair until San Francisco finds a way to pull away late. I am going to take the 49ers, but Green Bay is going to make them work for it. I'm going to take San Francisco by the score of 37-27. Now, moving ahead to Sunday, you're going to have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to take on the Detroit Lions in another game that is a rematch from the regular season. And who would have thought at season's beginning that we'd be talking about the Bucks and Lions? One of these teams is 60 minutes away from getting to the NFC Championship game. Now, of course, in the regular season, Detroit went down to Tampa and dominated the Buccaneers en route to the 20-6 win. A lot of things have changed for both of these teams since then. I think the Bucks got their rhythm back last week, albeit against a bad Eagles team defensively. They beat the Eagles 32-9, but that game really could have been much more of a blowout had the Bucks receivers not dropped passes. I'll tell you like this: Baker Mayfield is a guy at quarterback. When he's on, he's on. When he's not, he's not. And I think both of these quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff, two former first overall picks in the NFL, they're both very streaky. And of course, when they're on, it definitely benefits their team. So I don't think the Bucks are going to be intimidated by having to go up to Detroit and take on the Lions. I do think what Tampa needs to do offensively, they want to go out there and score and try to take this crowd out of the game because we know that the crowd at Ford Field was electric last week. First home playoff game in 30 years, and they're going to be electric once again. But I think it's going to be important for the Bucks to go out there and score early, and they do have the talent on offense to get it done because when Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are on the top of their respective games at wide receiver, this is one of the toughest wide receiver duos in the National Football League to deal with, and they can have success against this Lions secondary. You look at what Puka Nakua, who is probably going to be one of the probably the NFC Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's probably not going to get Offensive Rookie of the Year over C.J. Stroud, but nonetheless, you look at what he was able to do against this Lions secondary last week, and I think if you're the Bucks, you watch that game film, and you definitely want to see what you can utilize yourself. Todd Bowles knows how to create pressure and throw things off for an opposing quarterback with this cover too. We saw what he did to Jalen Hurts last week. It's going to be important for him to do it again. Antoine Winfield Jr. at safety for Tampa Bay is going to be the key. He's playing some of the best football of his career. Can they force Jared Goff into some mistakes? But I'll tell you like this: I think the pressure was on the Lions last week. First home game in more than 30 years, and they didn't want to lose. And I think they fed off of that crowd at Ford Field as they got the win. I think that pressure is off of the Lions right now. They're more relaxed. They're going to play more relaxed. And I'm going to take Detroit at home with the 30-20 win. And finally, on Sunday evening at Orchard Park, you've got the Buffalo Bills set to get it on with the Kansas City Chiefs. And for the Bills, they're looking to get over the hump, while for the Chiefs, they're looking to make it 6 consecutive trips to the AFC Championship game. Now, we've seen both of these teams clash in recent years on the AFC side. Typically, Buffalo gets the best of Kansas City in the regular season, but in the playoffs, it's been all about the Chiefs. However, all of those previous postseason games were at Arrowhead. This time, finally, the Buffalo Bills get Kansas City on the road. And also, with the exception of the Super Bowl, this is really Patrick Mahomes' first real road playoff game. So, how is he and the rest of this Chiefs team going to respond to this? I think it's going to be very important for the Bills to score early, and I mean a touchdown. And the reason why I say it is this: that crowd is going to be crazy Sunday evening. 20 degrees out there at Highmark Stadium. That's not going to deter the folks in Western New York from going out there and showing love to their football team. I think you want to go out there and score a touchdown early, make that crowd even put them in more of a frenzy than they already are. And I think what you've got to do, excuse me, defensively for Buffalo, you've got to dial up the pressure on Patrick Mahomes. The offensive line has had questions this year. Patrick Mahomes has had turnover issues this season as well. And I think you need to go out there and take advantage of that. And also, what are we going to see from this inconsistent Kansas City wide receiver core? Sometimes they're on, sometimes they're not when it comes to the drops. I think this is a career defining game or Josh Allen and head coach Sean McDermott, because I'll tell you like this: I know that the Buffalo Bills are dealing with injuries and they're not going to have some key people a la Gabe Davis available in this game. But to me, this is the opportunity for the Buffalo Bills. You know, you finally got the Kansas City Chiefs in your building. This is a team that has prevented you from doing bigger and better things in the postseason in recent years. If the if the Bills cannot get over the hump against the Chiefs in this one, they never will. Buffalo is a 2.5 point favorite at home. I think this is going to be a back and forth affair. It's going to come down to the turnover battle, and more importantly, which offense, when they get into scoring position, can get sevens and not have to settle for three. It's going to be back and forth, but I'm going to take Buffalo at home by the score of 23-20. So, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.